The silence. After war, the battlefield was quiet. Too quiet. Smoke rose from the broken machines of war. Shattered ships floated in the dark sky, their lights fading into nothing. The ground was filled with metal, blood, and silence. The war was over, but the memory of death was still alive. A lone human soldier walked slowly across the field. His boots pressed on the ashes of battle, leaving marks that soon disappeared in the wind. He carried no pride in his steps, only heavy exhaustion. His armor was scratched, his face tired, yet his eyes kept searching. He was looking not for victory but for life. In the distance, under the wreck of a burned alien transport, something moved. The soldier stopped. His hand reached for his weapon, his breath held in silence. Then he saw it, an alien warrior lying on the ground. The alien was tall, strong once, but now broken. His armor was cracked, his legs did not move, his body frozen. His people had left him behind, abandoned in the dirt like forgotten metal. The human soldier stood still, unsure. He knew the war had made enemies of all races. This alien was supposed to be an enemy, a rival, a killer. But now, lying helpless, he was nothing more than a wounded soul. The galaxy had turned its back on him. Even his own kind had walked away, calling him useless, and yet the human did not move away. For a long moment, the soldier only listened. The wind, the soft sparks of dying machines, and the weak breaths of the alien. Every sound told him the truth. This warrior was still alive. The alien's eyes opened slowly, glowing faint under the shadow of smoke. He looked at the human, not with hate, but with shame. His lips moved, but his voice cracked. "Leave me. I am finished." The soldier took a deep breath. He could walk away. No one would blame him. But something inside his heart refused. He stepped closer, his shadow falling over the paralyzed alien. "You will not die here," he said quietly, his voice steady. The alien blinked in disbelief. His people had abandoned him without a word. Why would a human, his enemy, stand here and speak of saving him? The soldier kneeled, removing the weight from his shoulders for a moment. His hands checked the alien's wounds. The damage was deep. The legs were useless. The spine cracked. His body would never rise without help. The alien tried to push him away weakly, his pride fighting against mercy. "Go, human. Leave me. I cannot walk. I cannot fight. I am nothing." But the human shook his head. "You are still alive. That is enough for me." The silence grew heavy, as if the galaxy itself waited for his choice. The soldier pressed his arms under the alien's body, lifting with all his strength. The weight was crushing, his back screamed, his breath came hard, yet he pulled the alien up and onto his shoulders. The alien's head rested against his back, disbelief filling his mind. The soldier stood tall, his legs trembling but unbroken. Step by step he began to walk, carrying both life and burden. Around them the battlefield seemed to whisper. Metal creaked, broken ships groaned in the wind. The soldier moved carefully, his eyes watching for danger. The alien spoke again, his voice weak. "Why do this, human? Why save me when even my own blood left me?" The soldier answered in simple words, "Because no one else will." And with those words the silence of war felt different. It was no longer the silence of death. It was the silence of a choice, a human choice. One soldier, against the judgment of the galaxy. One soldier who refused to turn away. The alien closed his eyes, his mind filled with conflict. Shame burned in his chest. Yet something new also grew. He had been abandoned by his people, but carried by his enemy. He had been called useless, but now someone risked everything to save him. For the first time since the war began, he felt hope, weak and fragile, but alive. The soldier did not speak again. His focus was on every step, every sound, every shadow. He knew the battle was not over. Danger was still near. But he also knew one truth. He would not put this alien down, not until safety was reached. No matter what came, he had already made his choice. The silence after war was broken not by guns, not by ships, not by armies, but by the footsteps of one human soldier, carrying the weight of an alien warrior, carrying the weight of a choice that would echo across stars. And somewhere, in the smoke and ash, destiny watched. For this was only the beginning. The burden, on human shoulders, the human soldier walked through the broken field, his body already weak, every step pressed deeper into the ashes of war. On his shoulders lay the alien warrior, paralyzed and silent. The weight was heavy, far heavier than any weapon or armor, but the soldier did not stop, his heart stronger than his tired legs. The alien's breathing was shallow, his head tilted against the soldier's back. He had never felt so powerless in his life. Once, he was a warrior of honor, a leader among his kind. Now he was nothing more than a burden. He whispered, "Why do you carry me? Human, I am only slowing you down." The soldier did not answer at first, his jaw clenched tight. His body was shaking, but his steps never broke. Finally, he spoke in a voice low and steady. "Because no one should be left behind, not even an enemy." The words struck the alien deeply, harder than any blade. His own people had left him, but a human carried him. The battlefield was not safe. Burning wrecks cracked, sparks hissed, and broken machines sometimes exploded. Each sound made the soldier's heart race faster. His arms ached, his back screamed, but he tightened his hold. He knew eyes might be watching, enemies hiding among the ruins, yet he refused to let go. In the shadows, movement flickered. Small enemy drones hovered, their red eyes scanning the battlefield. They were searching for survivors, not to save but to finish the weak. The soldier pressed his body closer to the ground, hiding behind steel remains. He slowed his breath, listening to the hum of machines above. The alien whispered, "You cannot fight them while carrying me. Leave me here, save yourself." The soldier's grip tightened, his voice like stone. "If I leave you, I leave my soul too." The alien could not understand. Why would a human soldier risk death for someone who was supposed to be his rival? His people believed humans were reckless, violent, unworthy of trust, but here was proof of something greater. The soldier waited until the drones passed, then rose again. His steps were heavier now, sweat poured down his face. His body screamed for rest, but his spirit pushed him forward. The alien listened to every breath, every grunt of pain, and he began to realize that this man was carrying more than weight. He was carrying defiance, carrying humanity's will to never surrender. The night grew colder. The battlefield stretched far without end. In the distance, faint lights flickered from ruined towers. The soldier moved toward them, hoping for cover. His mind repeated one thought: keep walking, just keep walking. The alien spoke again, voice trembling. "Why do humans fight so hard even when everything is lost?" The soldier answered, "Because that is when it matters most." His legs almost collapsed. He leaned against a broken wall, the alien sliding slightly on his shoulder. The alien's eyes filled with conflict. He had seen humans in war, fierce and merciless, but this side of humanity was unknown to him, a side that valued life over hate, even the life of an enemy. Suddenly, the ground shook with a distant blast. The soldier's eyes sharpened. Danger was near. He could hear metal moving, voices echoing in alien tongue. A scouting party was returning to the field, searching for survivors. The alien stiffened, whispering, "They will kill you if they find you with me." The soldier's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then we will make sure they don't find us." He pressed himself into the ruins, crawling with the weight on his back. The alien could not believe the effort, the stubbornness. Every other being in the galaxy would have abandoned him without a second thought. But this human refused again and again, and with every step the alien's shame grew heavier than his broken body. For the first time since the war, he felt a strange warmth in his chest. Not the fire of battle, not the pride of victory, but something different, something he could not name. He looked at the soldier and whispered, "Perhaps your kind are stronger than we ever knew." The soldier gave no answer, only kept walking, his breath heavy but his steps firm. The night wind howled through the ruins. Carrying the smell of smoke and blood, The galaxy had abandoned the paralyzed warrior. But one human carried him still, against all reason, against all odds. The burden on his shoulders was not just a body. It was proof of humanity's will. Proof of what made them different. And as they disappeared into the dark, the story of that burden had only begun. Hunted across the battlefield, the night was no longer silent. The sound of machines echoed across the ruins. Sharp and cold enemy scouts had returned, their steps heavy, their voices cruel. They were searching, hunting, making sure no survivor escaped. The human soldier froze in the shadows, the paralyzed alien still on his shoulders. Every sound grew louder, every heartbeat faster. The soldier pressed himself against the broken wall of a ruined tower. He knew the enemy was close, too close. The alien whispered weakly, "You must leave me. They will not stop until they kill you." But the human shook his head, his voice steady and cold. "I do not leave anyone behind, not tonight. Not ever." The alien could not understand this madness, but inside something stirred. Something he had buried long ago. It was not hope, not yet, but a spark of wonder. How could an enemy, a human, risk death for him? The galaxy had told stories of human stubbornness, but now he was living proof of it. The soldier's boots pressed slowly against the dirt, step by step. He moved between ruins. His eyes scanned every shadow. His ears caught every sound. The alien felt his grip tighten whenever danger came too near. Above them, drones hovered, their red eyes glowing like demons. One beam of light swept across the ground, missing them by inches. The soldier crouched lower, his breathing heavy. His armor scraped against metal, but he kept moving. The alien whispered, "Your body cannot endure this weight forever." The human only gritted his teeth, replying, "Then my spirit will." Suddenly, a shout echoed in the alien tongue. The scouts had found tracks, footprints in the ash. The soldier cursed under his breath. He had been careful, but not careful enough. Now the hunters were following his trail. The sound of weapons charging filled the night. The soldier broke into a run, his boots slamming against the ground. The alien's body bounced on his shoulders, pain shooting through him. He wanted to scream, to tell the human to let go, but he stayed silent. Because he realized something. This man was not only carrying him, he was carrying defiance against the whole galaxy. Laser fire ripped through the air. Sparks exploded from ruined machines as beams struck metal. The soldier zigzagged between wreckage, moving faster than the enemy expected. Each blast came closer, the heat burning his armor. Still, he did not drop the alien, not even for a breath. The alien's mind was torn in two. One side whispered that this was foolishness, that survival was impossible. The other side felt awe, pure awe. At this unstoppable human, he whispered, "Why do you not fear death?" The soldier answered between gasps, "Because death fears us." The word sent a chill through the alien. He had never heard such madness, and yet in that madness he felt truth. Perhaps this was why humanity was dangerous. Not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because of will. A will that refused to break. The soldier ducked into a collapsed bunker. Inside, darkness swallowed them. The sounds of hunters outside grew louder.
He pressed the alien down gently, signaling silence.
The alien stared at him, breathing hard. His voice shook as he said, "If you die for me, your people will call you a fool." The soldier smiled faintly, replying, "Then let them call me what they want. I will still carry you outside." Lights swept past, voices barked orders. The enemy was close, too close. The soldier gripped his weapon with one hand, the other steadying the alien. He was ready to fight if discovered, ready to give his life. But the alien's chest ached with something new. Guilt, heavy and sharp for the first time in his life. No one in his own race had fought for him. No one had stayed behind, yet this human, this enemy, chose to carry him through fire and death. It was a truth he could not ignore, and it cut deeper than his wounds. The scouts passed slowly, their lights fading into the smoke. The soldier waited, still as stone, until silence returned, then he rose again. His shoulders shaking, step by step, he moved forward once more. The alien whispered, almost to himself, "Perhaps we were wrong about your kind." The soldier did not answer, but his steps were answer enough. The battlefield stretched endlessly. The hunters would not stop searching. The danger was far from over. But the legend had already begun in the silence of ruins. One soldier carried hope on his shoulders, and the galaxy, though it did not yet know, would never forget this night, the choice of sacrifice. The night was colder now. The soldier's breath came in sharp clouds, his body almost breaking under the weight. The alien's form pressed heavy against his back, each step cutting into his strength, yet still the soldier walked, his boots echoing against broken stone. The battlefield behind them burned, but danger still hunted ahead. The alien's eyes opened slowly, glowing faint in the dark. He whispered, "You cannot go on, your body is failing." "I can feel it," the soldier only tightened his hold. Saying nothing, the silence was heavier than words. It was the silence of someone who had already chosen his path. They moved through a shattered trench, its walls scorched and cracked. The alien shifted slightly, pain shooting through his paralyzed body. He spoke again, his voice weaker than before. "Leave me here, human, you have done enough. Your people will remember you as a hero if you survive, but they will call you a fool if you die carrying me." The soldier stopped for a moment, his chest rising with slow, heavy breaths. Then he whispered back, "I do not carry you for glory. I carry you because it is right." Before the alien could answer, the ground shook with approaching steps. The soldier pressed against the wall of the trench, his ears sharp, shadows moved above them. Voices in alien tongue barked orders. The scouts had followed their trail once again. This time it was not only drones, but soldiers in armor. Their lights cut through the dark, sweeping closer and closer. The human soldier looked upward, his grip on his weapon tight. He knew the truth. He could not outrun them anymore. Not while carrying the alien, not while his body was at its limit. The alien saw it too, and for the first time in years, fear filled his chest. He whispered, "If you fight, you will die. Leave me. Let them take me. Save yourself." But the soldier shook his head, his voice steady like stone. "If I leave you, I lose more than my life. I lose what makes me human." The alien stared at him. Speechless, no words could answer such madness. Such courage. He had once believed humans were reckless, dangerous because of their violence, but now he saw the truth. They were dangerous because of their hearts. He whispered softly, "You are willing to die for me." "An enemy," the soldier replied. "Not for an enemy. For someone who was left behind." The sounds grew louder. The enemy patrol was nearly upon them. The soldier lowered the alien gently against the wall of the trench. He touched the alien's shoulder, whispering, "Stay quiet. Stay alive." Then he stepped forward, weapon ready, his silhouette outlined in smoke. The alien's eyes widened, realization striking him. The human was preparing to fight alone against many. The soldier's mind was calm. He had carried the alien this far, but now the path ended. If he fought, it would be his last stand. But at least the alien would have a chance to live. He raised his weapon, his voice low. "If this is where I fall, let it be with purpose." The alien felt his chest burn, not with pain, but with something new. He had been abandoned by his own kind, treated as worthless. Yet here was a human ready to sacrifice his life for him. Tears formed in his eyes, rare for a warrior of his race. He whispered, "Human, do not do this, do not give your life for me." But the soldier had already made his choice. The enemy patrol stopped nearby, scanning the trench. Their leader barked orders, weapons raised. The human soldier stepped from the shadows. Firing the first shot, the silence shattered into chaos. Lasers ripped through the dark. The soldier moved with fury. Every strike filled with willpower. Enemies fell, but more came. Surrounding him, still he did not stop. His voice echoing with each breath, "You will not take him." The alien could only watch. Powerless, his heart screamed as the human fought like a storm. He had never seen such determination. Every other race would have surrendered, but this human burned brighter in the face of death. And in that moment, the alien understood. This was why humanity was feared. This was why they could never be broken. But the soldier was only one man. The circle of enemies tightened, their weapons glowing. His body bled, his armor cracked, his strength fading. Yet he stood tall, refusing to kneel. If this was his end, he would make it mean something. The alien cried out, "No, human, you cannot die here." Not like this, the soldier's weapon emptied. He drew his blade, one man against an army, yet still unbroken. The alien's tears fell silently as he whispered to himself, "If he dies for me, then I swear by the stars. I will never forget, never abandon his people, never turn away from humanity." And as the battle raged in the trench, the human soldier faced death with courage. The galaxy may have abandoned the alien, But the human's choice of sacrifice had already changed destiny. Humanity's hidden strength. The trench burned with fire and smoke. The human soldier fought like a storm, striking with fury. Enemies surrounded him, their weapons bright, their voices cruel. But still, he stood tall, his blade cutting through the dark. Every wound slowed him, but his spirit never bent. The alien watched helplessly, his chest heavy with guilt and awe. He whispered, "Why, human? Why fight for me when even my own people cast me aside?" The soldier's voice roared through the chaos. "Because humanity does not abandon the broken, not while we still breathe." The words struck the alien like thunder. For his race, weakness meant shame, and shame meant exile. But for the human, weakness meant a reason to protect. That truth burned brighter than the fire around them. And the alien began to understand why humanity was feared. The soldier's strength finally began to fail. Blood dripped down his armor, his breath ragged. The enemies saw his weakness and closed in, laughing in cruel voices. Their leader raised his weapon for the final strike. The alien cried out, his voice breaking, "No!" Then the sky split apart. A thunderous sound shook the battlefield. From the clouds above, beams of light fell like swords. The ground trembled as shadows of massive ships appeared. Terran warships, hidden until this moment had arrived. The enemies froze, their laughter silenced. One soldier whispered in fear, "Death Worlders!" Before they could react, fire rained down. Explosions ripped through the trench, tearing enemies apart. The human soldier dropped to his knees, exhausted, but a fierce smile touched his lips. Right on time, Terran soldiers descended from the sky, their armor shining. They moved like predators, fast and merciless. Blasters roared, blades struck, enemies screamed. Within moments, the hunters who mocked the human were destroyed. The trench was silent once more, but now it was the silence of victory. The alien's eyes widened in shock. He had heard rumors of hidden Terran fleets, but he had never believed them, never thought humanity could rise so quickly. Yet here they were, answering the call of one soldier's courage. The human was lifted by his comrades, their voices filled with respect. "You held them long enough, brother. The galaxy will remember this night." The alien felt something deep in his chest. It was not shame anymore, it was gratitude. He looked at the human and whispered, "Your people came for you for one man." The soldier, weak but smiling, replied, "No, they came for what is right." The alien closed his eyes, memories of his abandonment flashing before him. His people had left him without a glance. Yet the humans, a race once mocked by the galaxy, had risked fleets, weapons, and lives for one soldier and one broken alien. It was a truth that shook his heart. The Terran commander stepped forward, his voice sharp but proud. "You carried an enemy on your shoulders, soldier, while the galaxy turned away. Do you know what that means?" The human, his body trembling but his voice steady, replied, "It means we are human, and being human means we never walk alone." The alien's throat tightened, his mind struggling to hold back emotion. For the first time he felt the weight of loyalty not as duty, but as gift. The humans had shown him strength unlike anything his race had known. Not just the strength of weapons, but the strength of compassion. It was a strength that could not be broken. The Terran soldiers tended to the human's wounds. The alien was given medical aid, his body still weak. As they prepared to leave the battlefield, the alien spoke softly. "I was abandoned by my own kind, but carried by you and saved by your people. From this day I am bound to humanity, not by chains, but by honor." The human soldier looked at him, tired but smiling. "Then walk with us when you can. Until then, I will carry you." The alien bowed his head, not out of weakness but out of respect. He knew that this moment was more than survival. It was the birth of a legend. The galaxy had thought humanity was dangerous because of violence, but now it would learn the truth. They were dangerous because they carried not only weapons, they carried each other, and even those abandoned by the stars. And that was a strength the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity's hidden strength. The trench shook with fire and fury. The human soldier stood alone against a circle of enemies. His armor cracked, his body bleeding. Yet his spirit burned brighter with every strike. The alien warrior, still paralyzed, watched in silence, his heart torn apart. He had never seen such defiance, such madness, such courage. The enemy closed in, their weapons glowing red in the dark. The soldier's blades swung, cutting down one, then another. But for each he struck, more appeared, shadows filling the trench like a flood. The alien whispered, his voice breaking, "He cannot win. No one can win against so many." Yet the human did not stop, his voice a growl. "If I fall standing." Then, in the chaos, a sudden flash lit the night sky. The enemy scouts looked up, their voices sharp with alarm. A coded signal burned across the stars, a signal only humans would send. The soldiers' tired eyes widened for the first time that night. Reinforcements had heard. They were coming. The ground shook again, but this time not from enemy fire. From above, dropships roared through the smoke, their engines screaming like thunder. Hidden Terran strike teams descended, armored figures dropping into the trench with fire in their eyes. The enemy turned in shock, unprepared for the storm that fell upon them. And in a single breath the battle changed. The soldier staggered back, his blade slipping from his hand. He had been seconds away from death, but now, his brothers and sisters in arms had arrived. Terran rifles opened fire, each shot ripping through the enemy lines. The trench became a blaze of light, screams, and steel. The alien stared in disbelief. This was not just rescue, this was revelation. He had thought humanity small, weak, desperate. But here, hidden in the shadows of war, they struck with fury unmatched. One man's choice had called down an army. The enemy tried to retreat, but there was no escape. Terran forces moved like a wave, precise, unstoppable. Their voices rang out in unity. Not fear, not doubt, only resolve. The galaxy had mocked humanity, calling them reckless and dangerous. But now the alien saw the truth with his own eyes. They were dangerous because no chain could hold them, no enemy could break them. The soldier fell to one knee, exhaustion swallowing him. A Terran medic rushed to his side, pulling him upright. The alien's voice shook as he cried out, "Save him, he has carried me through death itself." The medic nodded, their hands already working, and the alien felt something he had never felt before. Trust, pure and strong. The battlefield roared with fire, but the tide had turned. One soldier's will had summoned a storm. The alien whispered to himself, "This is why they cannot be defeated. This is why we feared them without knowing why." He looked at the human soldier, barely conscious yet still alive, and he swore silently, "I will never forget this, never betray this." When the last enemy fell, silence returned to the trench. But it was no longer the silence of despair. It was the silence of victory, of survival. Terran soldiers gathered around their brother, lifting him with care. Their eyes then turned to the alien, still broken, but alive. No one abandoned him, not this time. Not with humanity watching. The alien spoke softly, his pride gone, his heart changed. "My people left me, but you carried me, why?" The soldier, half-conscious, whispered with the last of his strength, "Because that is what humans do." And those words cut deeper than any weapon. The alien looked at the human army. They were not many compared to the great empires, but each one carried fire in their hearts, a fire that refused to die, even in the darkest night. And he knew then that the galaxy had made a mistake. They had feared humanity for the wrong reasons. It was not their weapons that made them dangerous. It was their spirit. Above them the sky cleared for a moment. Stars shone faintly through the smoke, and the alien thought to himself, "This night will not be forgotten. This act will become legend." As the alien's awakening. The battlefield was finally silent. The Terran strike team had cleared the trench, their weapons now lowered. The smell of smoke still clung to the air, but the sound of death was gone. In the corner the human soldier lay weak, his chest rising with shallow breaths beside him. The paralyzed alien warrior stared in silence, his heart heavy. Medics worked quickly, their hands steady. They treated wounds, bandaged flesh, gave injections of life. The alien watched closely, his eyes wide with disbelief. These humans did not look at him with hate. They looked at him as if he mattered even though he was their enemy. One medic turned to him, their voice calm. "You will not die tonight, we will keep you alive." The alien was speechless. His own kind had left him to rot. Yet humans, his rivals, saved him without question. His chest tightened with an emotion he had never felt before. The human soldier opened his eyes weakly. He looked at the alien with a faint smile, whispering, "You are still here. Good." The alien's throat tightened. His voice cracked as he said, "You nearly died because of me. You lost blood, you fought alone, why would you do this?" The soldier closed his eyes, whispering back, "Because life is worth saving, no matter whose it is." The alien's heart trembled at the words. He had lived his life believing strength was all that mattered. His people taught him that the weak were worthless. Yet this human had shattered that belief with action. The Terran forces carried both of them to safety, through the ruins, into a hidden outpost where light still burned. There machines hummed softly, shelters glowed with warmth. The alien felt shame pressing against him. He was being protected by those he once called enemies. Days passed slowly. The alien's body was placed under human machines. Strange devices wrapped around his spine, his broken bones mended by their technology. He could not move yet, but he could feel faint life returning to his limbs. Each day humans spoke to him, offered him water, offered him food, and each day his heart felt heavier with guilt and wonder. The soldier, though still weak, often came to sit by his side. He would speak softly, never of victory, never of hate, but of survival, of carrying on, of never leaving someone behind. The alien listened quietly, his pride clashing with his gratitude. Finally, one night he whispered, "You should hate me. I am your enemy." The soldier shook his head slowly, replying, "Not enemy, not anymore." The words cut deep. The alien closed his eyes, tears slipping down his face. No one from his kind had ever shown him such mercy. No one had ever called him anything but warrior, soldier, or burden. But this human gave him something else, worth. And in that moment the alien swore silently, "If I live, I will repay this no matter the cost." Days turned to weeks. The alien's body began to heal. His legs trembled but slowly obeyed commands. The medic smiled at his progress, telling him, "You are strong. You will walk again." But he knew the truth. It was not his strength. It was theirs. It was the human soldier's will that gave him another chance. One evening, as the sky burned with distant fire, the alien managed to sit upright for the first time. The soldier was beside him. Bandaged but still standing tall, the alien looked at him, his voice strong for the first time. "You carried me when my own kind abandoned me. You saved me when my own blood called me worthless. From this day, I will never turn my back on you. I swear my life to yours, human." The soldier looked at him quietly. No pride, no triumph, only a calm nod. "We did what needed to be done," he said softly. But for the alien, it was more than duty. It was a bond stronger than war, stronger than pride, stronger than blood. The alien's awakening was not only of body, it was of spirit for the first time. He understood the strength of humanity. Not in their weapons, not in their ships, but in their hearts. And he knew the galaxy had misjudged them. They were not dangerous because of violence. They were dangerous because of compassion that refused to break. And as he sat under the stars, he whispered to himself, "I was left behind by my people, but humanity carried me, and for that I will carry them always." The legend of one soldier, the war had ended, but the memory of that night did not fade. In every corner of the human outpost, whispers grew. Soldiers spoke of the one who carried an enemy across the ruins. They spoke of the man who chose mercy over survival, and slowly the tale began to spread beyond the camp. The alien warrior stood now on his own two legs. Still weak but healing, his body had scars, but his spirit was new. Every step he took reminded him of the man who had refused to let him die. He looked often at the human soldier, who still wore his tired smile, and each time he whispered in his heart, "I owe you everything." When Terran ships finally returned to friendly space, the alien was brought with them. No longer a prisoner, no longer a burden. The galaxy was shocked. Other races asked why humanity had saved him, why they had given aid to one who fought against them. The answer came not from the human leaders, but from the soldier himself. He said only, "Because it was right." Those words traveled faster than ships. across comms, across stations, across star systems, and soon, the story of one soldier was told in markets, in barracks, in royal halls. Alien children listened with wide eyes. Alien leaders frowned, unsure of what it meant, but deep inside, all of them felt the weight of it. The alien warrior returned to his people months later. He came not as the broken man they had abandoned, but as a living symbol of something greater. When his people saw him walking again, standing tall, they asked, "How did you survive?" And he answered with only one truth. "A human carried me." The word struck harder than any weapon. His people shifted in silence, their pride shaken. They had left him behind because he was weak. Yet their enemy had given him life again. And for the first time they began to question their own ways. Meanwhile, among humans, the soldier never called himself a hero. He went back to his duties, carrying himself with quiet strength. When others praised him, he shook his head, saying, "I did what anyone should have done." But those who had seen him knew better. They knew that few would have walked the same path. The alien stayed by his side even when peace returned. He swore loyalty, not out of debt, but out of choice. Where the soldier walked, he followed. Where the soldier fought, he stood beside him together. They became a sight across the stars, a human and an alien, bound not by blood, but by something stronger. The legend grew louder with time. It was told in the council chambers where leaders debated. It was told in the training halls where young soldiers learned. It was told in the quiet nights where old veterans remembered. And with each telling, the lesson grew clear. Humanity was dangerous not for their weapons, not for their armies, not for their ships, but because they refused to abandon even those who were called worthless. The alien warrior, once abandoned, became a voice of unity. He stood before his people and declared, "I was carried by a human when no one else would. And I tell you now, their strength is not in destruction. It is in loyalty, in compassion, in will, and if we cannot see that, then we are blind." The galaxy listened, and the galaxy remembered. Some mocked the tale, some feared it, but none could ignore it because in every corner, someone whispered the same words. When all races abandoned him, a human carried him to safety. And so one night in the ashes of war became eternal. One soldier's choice became a lesson written in the stars. The alien never forgot the weight of those footsteps. And the human never sought glory, but legends do not ask for permission. They are born from truth. In the end, the galaxy understood a truth they had long denied, that humans were not feared because they fought without fear. They were feared because they carried others when no one else would. And that single truth could change the fate of worlds. The alien stood beside his human brother. Looking at the stars, he whispered softly, "Your story will never die because you showed us that one act of courage can carry a galaxy." The soldier only smiled faintly, his eyes on the horizon, and the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe agreed.